Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Prime Minister Rutte and President Poroshenko will each start with a short statement. After that, we'll have time for 4 questions. Prime Minister.
Yes, thank you so much, and for all of you to come, and particularly let me again that I'm so pleased to welcome President Poroshenko on his first visit to the Netherlands. As we all know, the MH17 disaster brought the Netherlands and Ukraine closer together. And I'd like to thank President Poroshenko once again for his help in the wake of that terrible tragedy. Along with the international community, the Netherlands supports Ukraine in the reforms it has been implementing since the political revolution. It is not an easy process for a country experiencing hard economic times in a region where tensions are running high. Ukraine will have to work hard to become a fully fledged democracy, free of corruption and with prosperity for all. And we are partners. It's also in the Europeans, in the EU's interest to have a strong and stable neighbor on its eastern border. A neighbor that can provide resistance to the attempts to destabilize the region. Economic growth, of course, is an essential stabilizing factor. And the association agreement can help Ukraine in this respect. It provides opportunities for mutual trade. And we just discussed that our Minister of Trade, Mrs. Liliana Ploemen, is planning on a trade mission to Ukraine because we see many possibilities, for example, in the area of agriculture. The government is convinced of the importance of the association agreement. That's why we signed it. The Netherlands and the EU sign agreements like this because it is important to have stable and prosperous neighboring countries. Again, Pedro Poroshenko, thank you so much for coming, and please, the floor to you.
Thank you very much, dear Prime Minister. I would like to thank Prime Minister Rutte for hospitality. I think we have a very productive, very friendly, and inspiring meeting today. And we discuss a variety of issues of our both bilateral and international agenda. First of all, we speak about the implementation of the Minsk agreement, because this is not only about integrity and independence of Ukraine, but regional, European, and global. And we're fighting there for the values, stopping Russian aggression on the east of my country and annexation of the Crimea. Prime Minister, government, and people of Netherlands for the continuous and firm support Ukraine in this process. This is very important for us, and the decision of the European Union to introduce the sanction against Russian Federation as an aggressor, as a country who annexed the Crimea, for the non-implementation of Minsk agreement, is the key instrument to bring peace, stability on the Ukrainian land. I think that the relationship between Netherlands and Ukraine go after absolutely another level after the disastrous tragedy with the flight MH17. In the very first moment after tragedy, I received a phone call from Prime Minister Mark Rutte, and said in the very first moment that first we are together with the Dutch nation, with the nation who suffered the most. And from the very first moment, we proposed for the transparent and international investigation. And I proposed to the Prime Minister, and I thank you for the accepting this proposal, that the Dutch investigation team, as a representative of the nation who suffered the most in this disastrous tragedy, and this was a unique example in the investigation of such type of terroristic attack in the world, the Dutch investigation team lead the investigation. And I, after having first results of this technical investigation, I want to thank all the Dutch specialists, the international team, for the very important job which have already done. And we have had a criminal investigation, and I hope in the middle of December, at least at the end, before end of the year, we will have how, from where is responsible for this disastrous terroristic attack, for this disastrous tragedy. We confirm that we are standing shoulder to shoulder in our fighting against terror, against terroristic attack in Paris, in other part of the world, and we do not accepting any blackmailing by terrorists, and the message we will see from the street of Ukraine or from the street of the Paris, we are not afraid and we are together. This is extremely important, and I want to once again said that we are together with the Dutch people, and I have a picture, the very first moment after this tragedy, the picture of the Dutch embassy in Kiev, with a mountain of flowers, with the thousands of Ukrainians who coming to the embassy just to demonstrating our unity, our solidarity in this tragic moment. And we have the same feeling today. Also, from the 1st of January, two historic moments. First is the European Union, and second is the coming in force deep and comprehensive free trade agreement between Ukraine and European Union. And we agreed we use maximum the new possibility for the Dutch business, for the Ukrainian business, to develop bilateral direct connection, to have a facilitation for the presentation of Dutch businesses on the Ukrainian market, on Ukrainian privatization. It will be very important next year to have an economic forum, and our ministers is already start work for preparation this forum. We will be welcome the decision of the Dutch government to open the economic mission in Ukraine. We think this is extremely important to have first on the 45 million market of Ukraine, and the Dutch businesses can have this unique opportunity, and they would be welcome there. I think that it is very important for us to declare that our association agreement between Ukraine and European Union is ratified by all 28 member states. And now we believe that under the Netherlands' lead in the European Union, Ukraine can finish this process. We know that we have a consultative referendum. We do not have anything to interfere on the internal policy, but we think that it would be extremely important for every single 45 million Ukrainian to know that our program to reform my country, our program to change my country, to fight against corruption, to build up the new new society based on European values, to build up the new judicial system, to build up the new instrument for the human rights defense. This is exactly the purpose association agreement between Ukraine and European Union. And this is a decisive because unfortunately many Ukrainians giving their lives to bring the European values on Ukrainian soil. And this process, which has already happened, the implementation of the reform, the changes of the country, we can have an opportunity to continue. Much indeed, and we are open for the questions. Thanks a lot.
For the first question on our left hand.
My name is Victor Kolomias, the correspondent of News TV channel 112 Ukraine. My first question is to Mr. Prime Minister. This question concerns the referendum which will be held in April. How could this happen? This issue with many people here. And as I understand, many citizens of the Netherlands, for many citizens of the Netherlands, this is not a question of the European integration of Ukraine. This is a question and react on the position of the people. So my final position depend on referendum results due to that fact that this is not obligatory. І моє питання пану президенту. Скажіть, будь ласка, що робить Україна, офіційна влада, для того, аби, зокрема, і Голландія, що Україна варта того, аби бути членом європейської спільноти? І що робить українська влада, аби подібні референдуми, все-таки навіть ідея така не з'являлася у європейців? Дякую.
Okay, well, to your first question, which I understood slightly better than the second question, the law is very clear. The government has to reassess its decision after the referendum has taken place. So that we will do. So first we'll have the referendum, and then we have to take a decision, taking a view on the referendum result, and of course also the debate in the run-up to the referendum. But let me also say why it is important to have this association agreement. It is important because as a European Union and also the state of the Netherlands, we need stable neighbors. We live in a world where there's a lot of unrest, particularly around Europe, and we need stable neighbors. And this association agreement will help through the bilateral and the EU-Ukraine trade relationship. It will help to build the Ukrainian economy, whilst at the same time working on democratic, constitutional change, making sure that corruption is, that there's a lot of fight, that we are fighting corruption in Ukraine, etc., etc. So it has nothing to do, as some people are saying, that this has to do with Ukraine now getting a sort of membership of the European Union. We have these association agreements with countries in the Americas, in the Middle East. And I can assure you that Lebanon or Israel are not at this moment applying for membership of the European Union. It's not about that. It is about having stable neighbors, strong relationships, sharing European values, yes. And therefore we will vigorously defend the government's position on this.
Excuse me.
Do you understand that the referendum would stop the integration of Ukraine?
Now, the referendum has taken place. It is a consultative referendum. So after it has taken place, the government, if you given the result of the referendum.
My answer would be in two languages. First, it would be a little bit better understanding yet for the Mark, but I'm especially want that Mark understand 100%. Point number one, this referendum do not stop association agreement. You should understand that, understand in point number one. Point number two, integral part of this referendum is a deep and comprehensive free trade agreement, which is a unique opportunity for the businesses in Netherlands, businesses in European Union, and businesses in Ukraine to be present on the huge market of Ukraine and on the huge market of European Union. And this is in favor of people of Ukraine and in favor of people of Netherlands and people of European Union. Very clear. This is the part of the special project, Eastern Partnership. In Ukraine, Moldova and Georgia is just 3 countries who signed up this 1 year ago. What is it about? About reform, about free trade and about reform. 98% of this association agreement, this is about reform, about defending a human rights, defending a freedom, defending a democracy. And I just want to know who is against democracy, who is against the freedom, who is against reform, who is against anti-corruption, who is against independent legal system, who is against investment climate. That is, and I of democracy and referendum against Ukraine. Frankly speaking, what does it mean, this association agreement for Ukraine? The farewell to the Soviet Union, the last farewell to the communism, the Rubicon which we should cross. Who is against that? And when you ask me what we doing, just not allow anybody to stop us in the process in the country. That's why we are here. That's why 3 days ago I was in Rome That's why we have a meeting on the next weekend and next Monday in Paris. Just demonstrating that we are together, we are united, and we have a full support of the member state in reforming of my country. And we have a unique experience when, for example, United States will help us to reform the police. Italy will help us to reform the anti-corruption, not to create the anti-corruption bureau because they have an successful result. Now we work with our do our best to have a practical sector how we can reform that. I promise you that this is exactly what we need to do to build up Europe in Ukraine. That is what. Thank you.
Wat is mis met het lampje hier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a
That's
problem
some
for
signal.
Is it a problem for the camera? Yeah.
My name is Natalie Reiten. My questions are on behalf of the Dutch press. Mr. Poroshenko, do you see the association agreement as a step towards an EU membership? And I would also like to ask the same question to Prime Minister Rutte.
I have a long answer. What an association agreement is about. Association agreement is about the values. And I in my country, and I build up a democratic European society in my country, make a reform of everything. That should be completely other form of dialogue about the membership, because association agreement is something different.
As I said in my statement, this association agreement is about free trade, is about reforms, it is about stability with our neighboring countries. It is not about membership of the European Union.
Second question, Mr. Poroshenko, what did Prime Minister Rutte tell you about the referendum that is going to be held in the Netherlands, and what would be your voting advice towards the Dutch public? And the same question for our Prime
This
Minister.
is not advice. I hate the idea to advise anything in Dutch people. I have a strong hope that the same way like Dutch people were together with us and Ukrainian people were together with the Dutch people during the catastrophe of MH17, same way that we will be together in the attempt to stop the process of changes of my country. We do not allow them to stop it. And that's why we count very much on the position of the Dutch people, that they support my 45 million nation in my movement to the democracy, to the freedom, to reform of my country. And at the end of the day, this is in favor of the Dutch people, because deep and comprehensive free trade agreement is exactly what business are looking for. And the Netherlands today is the second investor in my country after Germany, second European investor.
We'll beat the Germans here, no doubt.
And why don't we should develop this cooperation and association agreement, just helping to them that? It's just rising up the level of the security country and the Dutch businesses and the Dutch citizens, the level of accountability. Why? Can anybody explain me one tiny reason why anybody can be against that? No, I'm sure about that.
We just have enough light and time for the final question, I think, over there.
Yeah, hello, my name is Natalia Fibrik from Ukrainian TV channel 1+1. My question is for the Prime Minister. Mr. Prime Minister, due to calls for forming impact it could have for anti-Russian sanctions in next year, and actually if you could say, can we be sure that these who are responsible for crash of MH17 will be really found and punished? Може пан президент теж може прокоментувати це питання українською мовою? Дякую.
Well, on your second question, I can guarantee you we will go the full length. We will do everything we can to find those and also prosecute those who are responsible for the downing of MH17. And we together with the Belgians and the Malaysians and the Australians, we are in the joint investigation team working our people. We as Ukraine, Netherlands, together with our three partners, we're working day and night to make that happen. Then on your first question, I believe these are two really separate issues. On the one hand, we have the Minsk agreement. It needs to be implemented, and we have to reassess the sanctions against where we are in terms of implementation. And not all the signals, to be very precise, are positive. So that's about the Minsk agreement and the sanctions. This is totally separate from fighting ISIS in Syria and the fact that the Russians are involved there. We are in contact with them because as a coalition we have to make sure we are bombing ISIS on the Iraqi side of the conflict, not on the Syrian side of the conflict. Because of course within the coalition we have to that there is no conflict and that we know what the other one is doing. We also have to discuss what to do in the next steps. We are working together in Vienna. That's totally separate, fully separate, firewalled, I would almost say, from the situation in Ukraine and the fact that the Russians have illegally occupied Crimea and are interfering in eastern Ukraine. Totally separate.
Я можу лише підтвердити, що у нас сьогодні були дуже позитивні переговори з прем'єр-міністром Марком Рютте. Ми продемонстрували, що партнером в Європейському Союзі, і трагедія MH17 лише зробила наші країни набагато ближче один до одного. Ми розуміємо, наскільки ми маємо спільні загрози і наскільки ми маємо спільно шукати відповіді. Сьогодні ми говорили про санкції, і я отримав тверде підтвердження про те, що в умовах, як Мінськ не імплементується російською стороною, санкції будуть продовжені. Сьогодні ми говорили про те, що ми пліч-опліч маємо стояти після терористичних атак в Парижі проти загрози тероризму, і я це підтвердив пану прем'єр-міністру. Сьогодні ми безумовно говорили про угоду про асоціацію і поглиблену та всеохоплюючу зону вільної торгівлі, де з 1 січня вона повноцінно вступає в силу, і з 1 січня є сьогодні у нас фактично позиція, коли наступає президентство Нідерландів в Європейському Союзі, і я впевнений в тому, що наші спільні дії по розслідуванню MH17, спільні дії по санкціям, спільні дії по проведенню бізнес-форуму і запровадження унікальної зони вільної торгівлі, спільна координація наших дій в інших міжнародних організаціях. І я подякував пану прем'єр-міністру за підтримку кандидатури України в Раді безпеки Організації Об'єднаних Націй, де тепер Україна вже буде представляти в тому числі і жертв трагедії MH17 в Раді безпеки, для того, щоб ті, хто скоїв цей жахливий злочин, опинилися на лаві підсудних, щоб вони були засуджені. І я сподіваюся, що кримінальне розслідування, яке буде завершено цього року, в грудні місяці, продемонструє всьому світові, хто стоїть. Ми це знаємо і так, але це буде підтвердження, прозоре, незалежне розслідування, хто стоїть за цією жахливою трагедією. Отже, сьогодні я дуже дякую пану прем'єр-міністру за гостинність, дуже дякую за дуже ефективні переговори, які ми провели. І сьогодні Нідерланди є нашим справжнім партнером. І звичайно, що ми сьогодні скоординували наші дії, і ми робимо все можливе для того, щоб донести нашим голландським партнерам і ситуацію про те, наскільки важлива для нас позиція по угоді про асоціацію. Думаю, що нам вдалося і це.
Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.
I could understand about 10%.
That's a good progress. Thank you, Mark.
I think we go this way.